tonight. Conditions also luckily a lot better. We are not really feeling those strong winds we were feeling earlier in the day and also yesterday. So, hopeful news out here tonight. Lynette, Adrian.
And, I was just curious, is that the reason why firefighters have been able to kind of manage this and stop it from spreading to nearby homes? We've seen, obviously, the other fires just explode so quickly. So I was just curious as to how they were able to get the upper hand on this one.
They had a lot of water drops. We got here almost immediately after the fire was reported, and we saw them, back to back. So I'm thinking that's what helped a lot of this. And yes, of course, the fire. We didn't see that rapid spread like we saw with the other fires.
Yeah, and having the air assault is just
That's
instrumental
huge.
in this. That's what happened yesterday. The winds were so strong they couldn't do that. All right, Amber, thank you so much for that live report.
Right, Valina Jones from our Bay Area station. She is here. She is helping us out. She's helping our community out, covering the Palisades fire. And she has a look at some of the devastation at PCH and Sunset Boulevard.
That's right. Just 30 minutes ago, we were heading up towards Pacific Palisades, towards the hills there. And this is, the closure right here at PCH and Sunset. But this is also the main artery where a lot of law enforcement and fire departments come through to try to triage the different fires throughout the area. And so they were coming up and they did not even make it a half a mile in before they saw a fire. Take a look at what they saw and us. We're here on Sunset Boulevard where yet another housing community is a complete loss tonight. This is West Side Habitats. You can see fire crews are putting water on the flames right now. They said their goal is to make sure these embers don't billow up into the air and travel and catch other things on fire. They said at this point they have to triage the situation. They put water on it for as long as possible and try to diminish this fire as low as possible before moving on to the next thing. So I just talked to fire crews here on scene and they said, we're going up the hill. We have other places to be, but we wanted to make sure that we at least got some of this down so that these embers did not carry over and create new fires. But they said when there are so many fires that they have to attend to, this is really just about triage at this point. And so that's really been the story here tonight. As many people have said, the winds have died down, so the winds have not been a critical issue tonight. However, we still see several different sporadic fires throughout the area here in Pacific Palisades. And when we start looking up the hill, we just see all these different, it's orange balls of glowing, right, at different neighborhoods throughout the hills. You can see that from the ground level and then once you get up there. And so it's all about triage tonight. Fire crews say they are doing the best that they can. They are trying to save, these homes, but they said when you see a scene that we just saw, that's a complete loss. And they said, their priority is to make sure that those embers don't spread and catch other things on fire, but they have to continue to move on to try to save these other homes that are still at risk. And so while the wind is not a factor, the fire continues to be a problem here throughout Pacific Palisades.
Thank you for that, Valina. Can you talk to us a little bit about any change in the conditions? Because we have seen the winds die down, we've seen a lull, and then all of a sudden the gusts pick up again. It's very unpredictable. Are you seeing it stay steady, or are you seeing some changes?
So for the past couple of hours, we've seen it pretty steady. I will say, when it was still light out, we were seeing, the wind get really heavy there. And in fact, we were in some neighborhoods that had already burned down. These homes were already a complete loss. But once that wind picked up again, we started to see hot spots ignite, and then fires would start again. And then those embers that they were talking about, those embers then go to other locations and start new fires. And so for the the past couple of hours, we have not seen really large wind gusts as we were seeing throughout the day, and so that's good news here tonight. Firefighters are welcoming that change of weather, right, because it's making the firefight just a little bit easier when they're, facing all of these challenges. But for right now, the winds are steady. Again, it wasn't like that just a couple of hours ago, so that's good news here as we head into the overnight hours.
We take a breath, but we cannot let our guard down. Thank you so much for that live report.
All right, we're going to check with meteorologist Belen de Leon right now. Belen, you've got to look at the wind conditions right now as well as the humidity. And we were talking about as we were getting ready to go on the air just a few minutes ago, it looks like the conditions that are conducive for these types of wildfires, that's been expanded for a little while longer.
Yes, because of the very dry conditions that are staying in place. We don't have any rain in our forecast. We're going to see another surge in winds, nothing like what we saw Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning, but the winds are going to be picking up again as we go throughout the afternoon tonight and back into Friday morning. Now, first off, I want to show you what's happening right now with our winds, because you've been hearing our reporters out in the field talk about the significant difference from 24 hours ago. And we can see it here with this map, where yesterday around this time, this map, which is a current winds, sustained winds, was so bright, was so colorful, was so active. But things are much different right now. We have much calmer conditions. We're able to see those water drops and hopefully able to see our firefighters get some containment, get some kind of handle with what we've got going on. Now, here's a look at the current gusts. Again, another map that looks significantly different than 24 hours ago. The spot that I am seeing is the San Fernando Valley, where the winds are still gusty. Gusts right now up to about 17 miles per hour in Van Nuys. We also have some gusty conditions through the mountaintops and ridges of the mountains and out towards Big Bear in the San Bernardino Mountains. Now let's take a closer, tighter view of what's happening around the fire area. This is the Palisades Fire observation stations around here, and this very different. The Santa Monica Mountains observation station yesterday had sustained winds at 50, 60 miles per hour with gusts up to 80 miles per hour. So it's much lighter, but check that out. Gusts still at 26 miles per hour is capable of picking up embers and transporting them at long distances. Malibu Creek looking at gusts at 17 miles per hour. Topanga Beach, very light winds, and over in Santa Monica, light winds. But look at the humidity. The humidity is down into the single digits and into the teens. So all of that fuel moisture out there, all the vegetation is just ready to be combustible and to go up in flames. And that's what we have, the very dry vegetation and that low humidity. Now back to the Eaton fire, and you'll notice that the winds much calmer here also compared to yesterday, looking at calm conditions, thankfully, but the humidity is still staying low. Now the humidity across the area a little bit higher close to the coast, but you'll notice that we're seeing those single digits and teens inland, Santa Clarita 15, even in the 20s over in the deserts. So as we go over the next 24, even 48 hours, what we have is that red flag warning has been extended. Originally, it was supposed to expire this afternoon at 6 p.m., but because of the very dry conditions in place and another surge in winds expected later today, that red flag warning has been extended. Now, I want to show you what the winds are going to be doing in the next 24 to 36 hours. There are still going to be some gusty pockets, especially below those mountain passes and canyons, and you'll notice it as we take a look at this map. Now here we are around the middle of the day. Although the winds are much lighter right now, we're going to see those winds pick back up throughout the afternoon. Around lunchtime, gusts once again blowing over the mountains and out towards the coast. At times, we may see some gusts in the 40 to 50 mile per hour range. Same goes for the Inland Empire and over into Orange County. Some stronger pockets that once again could not only start more fires, but expand any new fires. Here we are this evening looking at those winds once again picking up and staying pretty gusty all the way through early tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, here we are looking at the weather at 7 a.m. Still looking at some gusty conditions, and then as we head into tomorrow afternoon, the winds are much lighter. Unfortunately, we're not going to see much relief when it comes to these winds until tomorrow afternoon and evening, and that's when this red flag warning will expire. So again, the red flag warning has been extended because of strong Santa Ana winds that are going to surge up again later today and into tomorrow morning, the very dry vegetation and that low humidity. And before I leave you, I want to show you the smoke advisory, because that not only has been extended, but it also has been expanded. LAUSD steep. No school today, and this is possibly affecting other school districts as well. We've been announcing all of those school closures, but the air quality is really bad. I saw some folks yesterday at the grocery store that were wearing that N95 mask. That's probably a good idea, and you want to limit your time outside because of all of the fine particulates that are in the air, not only because of the fires and the smoke from the fires, but also of everything else that is burning as well within those homes, unfortunately, and within those businesses, and all of that is just going straight into the air. Look at our smoke futurecast. As we get into later today, we're going to see those smoke plumes unfortunately increase as those winds increase as well. Here we are looking at the weather at 3 p.m. this afternoon. The air quality affected, and unfortunately we're going to see it in our skies. Just a very eerie, ominous look, and that's what we're headed for, especially this afternoon, amigos. So be safe with yourself, and again, a reminder that that red flag warning in effect for all of Southern California. We're seeing the effects of it, and we know how it's impacting travel. So here's Robin Winston to let us know how this fire is affecting. What are we looking at, Robin?
Well, you mentioned the red flag warning being extended, so that means our closures will remain in place. It's a little different from yesterday, but also with the schools being closed, LAUSD, we think that a lot of kids will be home, parents will be home, so we're not expecting the same amount of traffic on the road compared to yesterday. Yesterday was a mess in some areas. I'll get to the closures in just a bit, but I saw this notification from Metro, and I want to keep you posted on mass transit because trains and buses had a tough time yesterday navigating the streets and the tracks because of the debris and all the down wires. This morning, there's a detour in place for folks traveling on bus line number 2. It's not going to be on its normal route. Metro says they're going to detour that to Santa Monica Boulevard from Beverly over to La Brea, and this is because of the wildfire in the Hollywood Hills. So once again, bus line number 2 will be taking a detour this morning. Plan ahead, get out there as early as you can, and pay close attention to the announcements being made by Metro. Now, getting home yesterday, my goodness, I had to hop off the freeway. The 5 was absolutely awful because we had the closures in place on the 5 at the 210 connectors. Those closures are not in place this morning, so we're expecting traffic to look a whole lot better. Things have changed a bit. So westbound 210 at Roxford open. This is relating to the hearse fire in Sylmar. That closure no longer in place. You don't have to worry about that. But all of the truck routes that take you to the area are closed. The 5 North, the 4 the West 210 truck routes, but the closure from yesterday lifted, and we're not expecting traffic to be as bad. Something that they added to the list because of the hearse fire, Soledad Canyon Road is now closed. You don't have access to that between Agua Dulce Canyon and Crown Valley, and they're saying till further notice, so they're not even giving us an estimated time of clearing. Now, the Palisades fire, PCH, will remain closed until further notice. We touched on this yesterday from Las Flores all the way over to the 10. You should not be traveling between the 101, Topanga and PCH. That area should just be off limits, only for emergency crews. Topanga Canyon closed once again. Mulholland to PCH, Malibu Canyon at Piuma. That's closed, as well as westbound 10 at Lincoln. Okay, this is the same one. So once again, Topanga Canyon is going to be closed. And if you don't live or work in the area, or if you're not a part of emergency personnel, you really shouldn't be traveling along that stretch. I have another list of long closures. I can't squeeze it all into one report, but I'll keep you updated, especially on Metro throughout the morning. But be safe on the roads. Leave as early as you can if you do have to drive. And we'll check more closures coming up in a little bit. Lynette, Adrian, back to you.
Yeah, we promised to get to all of them, right? We got a long morning ahead of us. So.
A long morning for sure. All right, NBC4's Robert Kovacic has been covering the Palisades fire, and he joins us now with the very latest there. Robert.
Do you hear anything? Lynette and Adrian, this is the situation right now in the Pacific Palisades. We are at Palisades Park, where the Palisades Tennis Center, you can see here, is already completely decimated. And behind me, the recreation center is on fire. Any other day in the Pacific Palisades, this would be a very, very big deal, and something would be done about it to try and save this very large recreation center. But it continues to burn. We have been in the parking lots with CAL FIRE and with the firefighters from Owens Valley because, frankly, there is nothing that they can do except monitor this at this point to see if this fire takes off in any way and if this could be a tinderbox, if you will, and if this fire could spread. But the recreation center is just one of those other buildings that has been completely destroyed here in the Pacific Palisades, because this is not any other day in the Pacific Palisades. This is the new normal in the Pacific Palisades. This picturesque, highly coveted neighborhood is reduced to us looking through smashed windows in a recreation center to see what is left of it, to see that it is still burning, that it is still smoldering. And again, there is really nothing that they can do at this point. It is going to be a complete and total loss. And the firefighters here must just continue to monitor it to see if the winds that you've been talking about pick up and if they push this anywhere else. But frankly, when you look around, there really isn't any much else in this neighborhood that you can possibly burn. So what we are showing you here is really just sort of, I think, a highlight. It is an underline of the new normal here in the Pacific Palisades, as heart-wrenching as it is to see that you have the building that is on fire and you can see it for miles, but everywhere you look in this war zone that this community has become, you see just these little fires, and those are not campfires. Those are nothing to welcome you. Those are fires that smolder from the gas lines, usually at homes that have burned to the ground. And that is what spots this neighborhood. This is what was left of some type of a picnic table and recreation table here. And this is what it did when it melted and it burned. This is just nothing compared to the losses suffered in this community. And as Susan Monroe turns around, you can see here that the recreation center building, it's just there, guys. I mean, it's on fire. There are no firefighters here trying to do anything to it. There is nothing that we can do right now except just watch it burn. Because like last night, the flames were so intense because the winds were so intense that we were there standing with firefighters from Morro Bay, Atascadero, Moreno Valley, Fountain Valley. They were from everywhere, from Anaheim, you name it. The additional resources were here, but they would say, as much as they tried to do structure protection, there wasn't a lot they could do because the wind was so intense, but to watch it burn. And now in a situation like this, the recreation center's already gone. There isn't much to do except watch this fire finally take the building down to nothing and watch it be completely a complete loss. And the only thing they can do now is to try and make sure monitoring from the parking lot, as CAL FIRE and Owens Valley Fire Authority is doing, just to see that this fire, whatever is happening here, doesn't spread. But the winds are insignificant at this point, at least from where we're standing, and it is a slow burn. And this right now, I think, to me, in so many ways, is a definition of the new normal here in the Pacific Palisades, because what would have been this would have been a major deal just a week ago. And now it is just one of the minor losses, if you will.
Robert Kovacic. Now, I know there is a delay. We want our viewers to know there's a little bit of a delay here as we have a conversation with you. But, you know this area well, Robert. You've been doing this a long time. I guess because the winds have died down, I hear in your voice, not defeat, but this is starting to sink in. This is really, the enormity of this is starting to sink in.
Lynette and Adrian, it sinks in so many different ways. It sinks in when I talk to friends who, are Hollywood agents, and they tell us about all the losses that they have suffered from their agency. When I talk to doctors and physicians, and they talk about the losses that they have suffered. And then I talk to people like the LAFD and firefighters who say that they too have suffered losses. And everything is compounded on the fact that almost every viewer that has reached out to me has a story about a home loss, a family member that was trapped. There are dreams here that have been destroyed. Coming and finding your way to the Pacific Palisades. If you're from Los Angeles and you tell someone you live in the Pacific Palisades, it's a very enviable place to live. It is a place because it is not only close to the beach, it is not only picturesque, it is not only beautiful, but it's also very family oriented. I've seen friends who have moved out here, and this is a wonderful place to raise a family, to have your family. So it's a very family oriented community, and the Palisades, as we've seen. You know, I remember when Rick Caruso built the village in the Palisades, he talked about the sense of community there, and what the Palisades was lacking, he was like, was a gathering spot and a place for this community to come. And this is what we've seen in the Palisades, that this is a community that has suffered immeasurable, unspeakable, it will never be the same loss. The Pacific Palisades is now going to go down in our history as the moment and the worst devastation our city has ever suffered in its history. I mean, and think about that. If I would have said that to you, that the Pacific Palisades is going to be remembered for that singular moment, that the destruction in Los Angeles, it all comes down to this one community that suffered the worst day in our city's history. It's pretty remarkable to think about that. And it has nothing to do with an earthquake. It has to do with a wind event and a fire that started as a small fire in someone's backyard and exploded and took out home after home after home, and took out villages and took out recreation centers. And now the Pacific Palisades has to sit back and watch one of their gathering spots, one of the places families would come, families would gather, and know that this too is destroyed. It will be rebuilt. And, you know, the one thing the Pacific Palisades, I think, can take heart in and may be able to take note of is that the world has watched this happen. And when I say the world, we've heard it from so many different people. People around the world have watched this happen. And there is not just Southern California that stands with the Pacific Palisades, but I will tell you, the nation and beyond stands with Pacific Palisades. Let's go back to you.
Yeah, and with Robert's pictures and words there, I mean, you think about all the memories, the joyful memories that were made at that specific place. That's all that really remains. And then the resignation, you know, to just let it burn, because you can only get to so many places at so many times.
Not an easy thing to see. It's really hard to watch that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that, Robert.
Now, because of the unprecedented demand for water in the Palisades for firefighting efforts, there is a significant low water pressure that reduces water quality, and that can pose a health risk. So now the LADWP is strongly advising people in the 90272 zip code and adjacent communities north of San Vicente Boulevard to only use boiled tap water or bottled water for drinking and cooking purposes until further notice.
Now, over in Pasadena, where the Eaton fire is growing, Pasadena residents in evacuated areas are being told not to drink the tap water, only use bottled water. They are also saying not to use tap water for cooking. Now, the city will let everyone know when it's safe to drink the water again.
If you're someone who is not impacted by this and wondering how you can help those affected, and I've heard from folks asking about this, the American Red Cross is working with local shelters and partners to help evacuees by providing food and health services. To support, you can make a donation at redcross.org, or you can call 1-800-RED-CROSS. There is an urgent need to help firefighters as well. The LA Fire Department Foundation is taking donations as well. They'll go towards emergency fire shelters, hydration backpacks, wildland brush tools. Head to supportlafd.org. You can also donate to the California Fire Foundation, which is a nonprofit working with local fire agencies to provide direct financial support to impacted residents. To donate to them, you can visit cafirefoundation.org.
Now, with so many people being forced to flee, several hotels are actually offering discounts to evacuees. Some of those include the Queen Mary in Long Beach, the Pierside Hotel in Santa Monica. Even the City of Big Bear's website has information about local lodging facilities that will be available to evacuees. Airbnb is teaming up with 211-LA to help evacuees find free temporary housing. You will need to submit a form online, and they will notify you on availability. Now, to do that, you can head to 211la.org.
And on that same note, I've been hearing and reading about certain gyms in Southern California offering their services to people impacted by these fires. That's the state that we're in right now, so people can come by and take a hot shower, that they can charge their phones. I mean, people have lost everything, infrastructure, their way of life now gone, and people are really stepping up to try to help, but it's a tough task right now.
This is really where I feel like the community comes together. This is when you see humanity and compassion. You see people willing to do whatever they can to help, and we can't say it enough. This is the time to check on your neighbors, to check on those who might need some support, and just to be a good neighbor. That's what it's about. So it is 1:29 right now. We are going to continue to follow all of this. We are going to stay with you, continuing coverage. One of the biggest things that we want to talk with Belen de Leon about right now is the fact that we are seeing the winds calm down, but it still isn't over, is it?
It is not. In fact, that red flag warning has been extended until Friday afternoon, and I've got that map for you. It's just because the weather, not only is the air really dry, but our vegetation is really dry. We do want to take a look at that water year so far, because our water year started on October the 1st, and the seasonal average rainfall is 14.25. But around this time of year, we should be closer to about 5 inches, about 4 inches and 3/4. But we have a huge deficit because we have only had about 0.16 inches of rain that has been received in the downtown area, which is nothing, amigos. So we had a very wet season coming off of 2023 into 2024, and that created a lot of new brush and a lot of new growth. But over the summer and into the beginning of the water year, we haven't had any moisture, so all of that new growth is really dried out, and that is just prime, unfortunately, to just go up with any sparks, with any flames, and that's what we're seeing. And unfortunately, there's no rain in our forecast. When we take a look at the outlook from the Climate Prediction Center from January 14th through the 18th, notice how over the West Coast, we're going to be stuck in this weather pattern of below normal precipitation, not anticipating any moisture, any use for those umbrellas. The weather is just going to continue to be very dry for us. Instead of tracking rain this time of year, we're looking at these very strong Santa Ana wind events. For the third time this season, the National Weather Service has used that very strong wording of particularly dangerous situation. Prior to this wildfire season, myself or other meteorologists on this team don't recall there being a time when we needed to use that strong wording, but we have a different wildfire season now where we are dealing with these extreme winds and this very low humidity and very dry vegetation that unfortunately all of these ingredients are coming together to just create this scenario. So here's what I've got for you. That red flag warning, as I mentioned earlier, was set to expire this afternoon, but now it has been extended until 6 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And once again, it covers most of Southern California because of the combination of these ingredients. We all have the risk of seeing these fires. And as we head into the afternoon, although things are much calmer right now, as Lynette was saying, and as our reporters are saying, the winds are expected to pick up again later today. So here we are looking at the conditions right now. By the way, the winds, the gust, much better than 24 hours ago. But as we head into late this morning and into about the lunch hour, notice how this gust futurecast map, it turns bright again. It turns colorful, indicating strong winds moving back into the area. Gusts potentially up to 40 and 50 miles per hour through those mountain passes and canyons. Those typical Santa Ana wind-prone spots are the ones that are going to be affected, unlike the very strong winds that we had late Tuesday into Wednesday, where they were more widespread, and we even had wind-sheltered locations that being affected. This time around, it doesn't seem like those wind-sheltered locations will be affected. These will be typical Santa Ana winds blowing from the mountains out towards the coast. You're going to feel them again around the middle of the day for those wind-prone locations. As we head into this evening, notice how those winds, they hold on. These strong windy conditions will hold on all the way until Friday morning. Here we are looking at the weather tomorrow at 7 a.m. and you'll notice that The winds not as strong, but still some pockets of gusty conditions. And then throughout the day on Friday, those winds will subside until finally that red flag warning has been allowed to expire. The winds will improve. But another reason why this red flag warning has been extended is because of the very dry air and the low relative humidity. In the overnight hours, what usually tends to happen is that we have some kind of recovery when it comes to the humidity, but not tonight. This morning, we have humidity readings inland that are in the teens, that are in the single digits, and we're going to continue to see that low humidity in place for us all the way until tomorrow afternoon. That's the reason why that red flag warning has been extended. The other thing is a smoke advisory that covers most of Southern California right now. And it's because of the Eaton fire, mainly the Palisades fire. The direction of the wind is carrying that smoke out towards the sea. But the Eaton fire right now is transporting all of that very poor air quality for most of us. So if you have to spend time outside, take precautions. But look at the air quality right now. We're really seeing it affected, especially around the San Gabriel Valley, around the areas near Pasadena, and that very poor air quality extending around into the Los Angeles area and all the way out towards the South Bay, where we have air quality that's unhealthy for sensitive groups. So we've got to take those precautions, and a reminder that here are the tips. The main thing is just to limit your time outside. I love taking my walks outdoors. Yesterday, that wasn't that kind of day. Had to get your steps indoors. Keep windows and doors closed. Avoid vigorous physical activity. I know there's no way around it, and some of our residents have to work outside. If that is the case, please take those extra precautions, give yourself some breaks, and make sure you have those masks. And indoors, run your AC and air purifier. We're not there yet. We can't let our guard down. We still have this elevated fire danger and still the potential of seeing some debris out there on the road, a possibility for some damage to trees, and also some hazardous travel conditions because we still have some strong gusty conditions in our forecast. Even though those wind warnings have been allowed to expire, we're still going to see some gusty spots, especially if you're traveling through those mountain passes and canyons. So unfortunately, amigo, this is the scenario that we have for you, and what I have, the newest information I have for you right now. We've got to get a check of the traffic because we know that all of these fires that are burning in the area are affecting your commute. So here's Robin with more.
That's right. Good morning. We have some new closures in place. We have closures that were extended overnight. So we'll start off here on the 210. Let's say you're traveling maybe between La Cañada, Flint Ridge, and the Pasadena area. A Caltrans closure remains in place on eastbound 210 at Arroyo Boulevard, which is also the Windsor Avenue exit. That's going to be closed off, and they're saying until further notice. This, of course, is all related to the fire that's impacting Altadena and Pasadena. So you're going to have to dump off the freeway before or after that exit and keep it available for emergency crews. We talked about the surface street closures in place. They remain in place for the Eden fire for the area north of the 210. Once again, you should not be traveling in this area if you are not a part of emergency crews responding to the area. This is the area bounded by Sierra Madre, Allen, Santa Anita, New York Drive, Altadena Drive, Sierra Madre Villa, all closed to traffic pretty much until further notice. I just got word from Metro that they also have some tracks closed. This is on the AV line. The AV line is the Antelope Valley line. They're saying between Lancaster and the Vista Canyon area, due to the fire activity, they have closed those tracks until further notice. No shuttles, no alternates will be provided. So that means you'll have to find your own source of transportation, but they are offering refunds. So if you normally take this route, they're saying you can get a refund or a voucher, but you have to plan ahead because the tracks are closed from Lancaster to the Vista Canyon area. We'll check in on more closures coming up in a little bit. Plan ahead, think ahead, get out there as early as you can. But with the schools closed today, we don't think it's going to be as bad as yesterday, especially on the 5. Adrian, Lynette, it was so bad. I just dumped off the freeway. I just worked my way on city streets for about 20 miles because of the closure of the 5 at the 210, but that's no longer in place. So a little bit of good news there.
All right, Robin.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep, thank you. And here is a list of those school closures that we've been talking about because of the fires and the poor air quality. There is a lot of them, including all LA Unified schools. So we're talking about hundreds of thousands of children, the parents, support staff impacted by this. There's Monrovia, San Gabriel, Santa Monica, Malibu, South Pasadena, Temple City School Districts, Unified School Districts, as well as Alhambra, Arcadia, Beverly Hills, Duarte, Garvey, Glendora. You can see them all on your screen right there. We're talking about many school districts and many people.
Now, these schools will be closed for the week. Burbank Unified School District, Glendale Unified School District, La Cañada, Pasadena Unified School District. And here is what LA Unified School District Superintendent Albert Carvalho had to say about the closures during a news conference yesterday.
My function here today is to thank those who are collaborating in this community effort. Number one, to thank our workforce who today courageously brought 70% of our student body back to schools. They depend on nutrition, education, and support. But I also want to make an announcement specific to tomorrow. We certainly were hoping that conditions would significantly improve, that winds would subside, that the number of active fires would decrease, not necessarily increase. There would be a degree of stabilization. Unfortunately, despite the heroic efforts of our frontline men and women, that is not the case. Unfortunately, as a result of the unpredictability of high winds, a number of simultaneous fires throughout the community, a number of clouds of smoke, dust, have permeated into our communities, making conditions less than desirable and in some instances downright dangerous. Our first priority is to protect the well-being of our workforce and our students. That is exactly what we are duty-bound to do. So after ample consultation with leaders, after clear examination of the data available, and entering a second night of this crisis, it is prudent to announce that all schools across Los Angeles Unified will be closed tomorrow, effective immediately. That applies not only to K-12 centers, applies to early education centers, career and technical centers, as well as adult education centers. Obviously, beyond the bell activities and child care services will also be suspended. Considering the level of poverty and despair in our community, we are not only professionally but also morally responsible for providing some degree of sustenance, as we often do. Therefore, we are activating 8 different centers for the distribution of food through a grab-and-go process for students of Los Angeles Unified. That will begin early tomorrow morning. For information about school closures and the location of the grab-and-go locations, please visit www.lausd.org. You will also find resources of support for our workforce and our students. Tomorrow, we will be pivoting 100% of our students to a continuity of learning model with virtual resources available for all of them. Sometime around 4 p.m. tomorrow, we will make a decision after consultation with leaders, as well as a careful examination of the trends as we observe them about what Friday will be like. I want to close by once again thanking our parents for their resilience, our workforce for their courage, and the remarkable men and women of this community who are working as first responders in very, very difficult circumstances. I will add that, unfortunately, the unthinkable has happened. We've lost 2 schools. 2 schools, elementary schools, providing educational services to over 700 students in the Palisades area, have been completely destroyed. We're talking about Marquez Elementary and Palisades Elementary. 30% of Palisades High Charter School was destroyed. We were on site and could not believe what we were witnessing. We are prepared to relocate those students to provide a continuation of their educational services and restore normalcy to those families and those communities.
And since classes are canceled, we know that a lot of students and a lot of families, they need help, and the YMCA can help with free childcare. YMCA centers will be open today for kids TK through 8th grade, and here's a list of some of the centers that will be open. North Valley, Ketchum Downtown, Culver, Palms, East Valley, Westchester, Mid Valley, West Valley, and Burbank.
And as you just heard, Superintendent Carvalho mention the district will distribute grab-and-go meals to LAUSD students. That will happen this morning from 8 in the morning until 10 at the following schools: Mulholland Middle School, Sepulveda Middle School, Holland Beck Middle School, Southgate High School, Fremont High School, Harry Bridges Span School, Marina Del Rey Middle School, Sonia Sotomayor Arts and Sciences Magnet School.
I want to show you the evacuation zone for the Palisades fire right now. More than, again, 30,000 people have been evacuated since Tuesday. So this extends from north to Mulholland Road, east to Kentner Road, to south PCH, all areas of Santa Monica, north of Montana Avenue, from the beach to 11th Street, all areas north of San Vicente Boulevard. In Santa Monica, the following area is under an evacuation warning, which is below an evacuation order. North of Montana Avenue from 11th Street to 26th, all areas north of Wilshire Boulevard between the beach to 10th Street.
Now, you know, it's not only people who are evacuating these areas because of the fires burning all over California. This is video from Topanga Canyon Boulevard. This mountain lion and 2 cubs had to flee from the burning areas and from the flames. The 3 crossed Topanga Canyon toward Mulholland Drive, away from the Palisades fire. Officials, though, are warning residents of possible increased sightings of wildlife as the animals have to flee to safety. They recommend you bring your pets indoors and always allow the wildlife to pass through.
I don't know if I've ever seen cubs before.
I know. You know, not only are they having to flee the flames, but, you know, it's hot. They're searching for water. You know, there's just so much, the domino effect of what's happening, you know, we just don't even, we're not even aware of it all.
Yeah. The majority of the evacuation zone for the Sunset Fire in the Hollywood Hills has now been lifted. So this fire started just before 6 last night west of the Runyon Canyon hiking area. Got a lot of people's attention. It burned at least 60 acres. Firefighters are working to ensure that there are no flare-ups in the surrounding areas. And once again, we want to check in with NBC4's Robert Kovacic, who was out there last night, who talked with a woman who walked us through the moments leading up to her being evacuated.
This is Debbie. Debbie, it's good to see you.
You too.
Tell me from your perspective, when you first got aware of this fire, was it an emergency alert? Did you smell the smoke? Did you see the flames?
We got like so many emergency alerts, which has kind of made us really paranoid because we're like right at Mulholland, like near Laurel, and it's like, you got to evacuate. And we're like, I don't know. So that's why I came up here to see, because we got scared. You know, we didn't know. We didn't smell anything.
Right.
But everyone kept saying, evacuate, evacuate. You know, so.
But you're here.
I'm here, yeah, because I cover stuff on my page.
So you're looking here, but
so I'm live on my, yeah.
Are you ready to go if need be, Debbie?
Oh yeah, I've already packed a bag, and I have my cat and my son. We've already packed. So I said, I'm just going to see if I can see the fire, because if it's close enough, then we probably should get out of it. You know, we should evacuate.
Are you like me, thinking that, you know what, it hit another neighborhood, ours is probably going to get spared with this round of winds, or were you ready and on standby to go at any time?
No, I wasn't ready on standby. Yeah. And I kind of said to my son, I'm like, you know, maybe we should just pack a bag just in case. And then all of a sudden he's like, Mom, I think we should like pack a bag now. And I was like, oh my God. So, yeah, because you never know with the wind, the way, you know, what happened in Pacific Palisades, it just all of a sudden just took off. So, and it's kind of windy right now. So that's why I'm kind of scared.
Firefighters are asking residents to try to be patient as they return home and crews continue with their work.
Mayor Bass is facing some tough questions about the city's response to the wildfires, and that includes a $17 million cut made to the LA Fire Department.
NBC4's Eric Leonard obtained documents filed just weeks ago when the LA Fire Chief warned about how the cuts would affect them.
Just hours into this devastating Palisades fire, lots of questions being raised about the administration. I mean, we saw yesterday an evacuation that turned into complete gridlock. We learned earlier today that firefighters ran out of water while they were trying to save homes overnight. And now, some new insight into the readiness of the LA City Fire Department. As you mentioned, the fire department was among about a dozen city agencies that were the subject of budget cuts during this last fiscal year. The city does its budget that begins July 1st and the year ends the following June. So we're about halfway through this city's fiscal year. And in this year, the city had to make a lot of cuts because of all kinds of over expenditures and not enough revenue. And one of the departments that got cut was the LA City Fire Department. I believe it was about $17.6 million. We were trying to find out today what that actually meant in terms of the department's ability to manage a large major emergency like this. And we've gotten a hold of a memo that was written by the LA City Fire Chief weeks ago. This is dated December 4th, 2024, and it provides an assessment of how the city fire department is dealing with all of those budget cuts. I want to read you a couple of lines out of this. It said, in its opening line, the fire department is facing an unprecedented operational challenge due to the elimination of critical civilian positions and a $7 million reduction in overtime. The civilian positions is how the department absorbed most of that budget cut by not filling open jobs and cutting some of those positions, but there was still $7 million left over. And the fire department uses that money, or did use that money each year, to pay for a variety of disaster preparedness functions, including preparing its air operations and its pilots to be able to do water drops. The fire chief wrote on December 4th, weeks ago, the reduction in V hours, meaning those overtime hours, has severely limited the department's capacity to prepare for, train for, and respond to large-scale emergencies, including wildfires. And in the report, or in the chief's memo, she specifically addresses the Air Operations Division. This is the unit of the LA City Fire Department where the pilots load up with water and try to stop the progress of these fires. The overtime money is spent in support of FAA-mandated annual pilot training and seasonal helicopter coordinator training. And the chief wrote, without this funding, pilot compliance and readiness are jeopardized and aerial firefighting capabilities are diminished. Now, it's unclear how these budget cuts affected what has gone on over the last 30 hours or so. As you mentioned, Mayor Bass, the fire chief, and a number of other officials are here. We're going to put those questions to them. Separately, we heard earlier today about the firefight in the Palisades running out of water. The DWP confirming that 3 million-gallon water tanks were depleted by 3 o'clock this morning. As we were covering live on the air, that's when dozens of homes and buildings were burning in the Palisades. Mayor Bass expected to address some of those issues this afternoon, but she's been out of town for the bulk of what's happened in the last day. She arrived from overseas earlier today and was confronted in an airport by a reporter asking why she was out of town during what may be some of the darkest moments this city has seen in a generation.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
So again, the LA City Fire Chief in this memo to the city said these budget cuts to the fire department that came about 6 months ago created an unprecedented challenge for the department. Again, still unclear how it may have affected what the fire department has been able or not been able to do.
Now, in response to the memo, Mayor Bass told reporters that she was confident that the budget cuts did not have an impact on the fire department's response to the fires. She also dismissed the criticism that her trip to Ghana regarding that, saying that she was monitoring the situation and in contact with her people in L.A. the entire time.
All right, 1:52 right now. We're going to send it back over to Belen to look at what we can expect over the next few hours.
Well, we're getting a lull in the wind activity, thankfully. A big difference from 24 hours ago where, for example, in the Palisades fire area, our reporter station in Santa Monica Mountains just 24 hours ago had sustained winds at 50, 60 miles per hour with gusts up to 80 miles per hour. Gusts still strong up to 27 miles per hour, but dramatically different than yesterday. Other observation stations around the area also showing some light wind with the occasional gust, but look at that humidity. It is so very low. The humidity was significantly low yesterday, and it's going to stay low again today. Big improvement when it comes to the weather over in the Eaton fire area as well, with calm conditions. The humidity here is in the teens, in the 20s, but I'm not seeing any major gusts, and it does look like the temperatures are chilly out there. So looking at some cool conditions. This again is been a cold Santa Ana wind event, and very different than past Santa Ana wind events that we've gotten, and I think that was one of the reasons why that helped strengthen the winds that we had and really caused those wind gusts to be so extreme, where we had wind reports of peak gusts upwards of 90 miles per hour. But again, look at the current winds, very different than 24 hours ago. Still a little breezy through the San Fernando Valley, where we have a wind advisory in effect, breezy also through Santa Clarita, and a light breeze blowing through the Inland Empire as well. But we can't let our guard down. Yesterday, we had extreme fire conditions. Today, we have elevated to critical fire conditions continuing across the area because the winds, they're not going anywhere, and the humidity is staying very low, and you guys know how dry the vegetation is out there. So here's what I've got for you. What is new this morning? We'll start off with the red flag warning. It was set to expire this afternoon at 6 p.m., but it has been extended until tomorrow afternoon. The reason? We will continue to see some gusty winds with another round expected for tonight and that very low humidity. Now, the smoke advisory, that's also new. We already know we're dealing with poor air quality, but the smoke advisory has been expanded to cover more of Southern California. So more of our area will be experiencing that challenging air quality today. And then let's talk about that wind activity, because even though we're experiencing a lull right now, we're going to see the winds pick back up again around the middle of the day, and a high wind watch has been issued for some parts of Southern California. I've got that map for you. First of all, the red flag warning, it still covers most of our area, and this is in place until 6 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. We're watching the fire zones, but just a reminder that we can't let our guard down because fires could happen everywhere. Those conditions are certainly in place for fires to start and to quickly expand and grow out of control. Now, here is something that's new, a high wind watch. Yesterday afternoon, the high wind warning that we had in effect, it was allowed to expire, but the National Weather Service has issued another one. It goes into effect this evening. It lasts all the way through tomorrow afternoon. What we're going to see is another surge in winds pick up, and gusts potentially in this area reach speeds from 30 to 40 miles per hour, gusts up to 60 miles per hour, a possibility. And you'll notice that it covers those fire zones, the Eaton fire, the Hearst fire, and also the Palisades fire. So we're going to see another burst of winds as we head into this afternoon and into this evening. I want to time it out for everyone. As we check out this wind gust futurecast map, you notice how bright and colorful this map becomes around the middle of the day. That's an indication of strengthening winds. So around the middle of the day, we're going to see those strong winds blow over the mountains out towards the coast. Once again, that wind tunnel through the Inland Empire over into Orange County. Fire danger elevated, yes, but what that high wind watch indicates is that we're also going to see the potential for downed trees, power outages, and hazardous travel conditions. Now, as we head into late this afternoon, early this evening, notice how the winds, they're not going anywhere. They stick around. We'll have some very strong pockets of winds blowing up to 40, 50 miles per hour. And I'm looking at the foothills of the mountains, and you see that little red contour right there? Those are winds that could reach speeds up to 60 and 70 miles per hour, so not out of the question. Below those mountain passes and canyons, it is going to be very fierce. As we head into tomorrow morning, notice how the winds, they hold on, but not as strong as what we're anticipating this evening. And then we get to tomorrow afternoon and evening. Notice how this map looks much different. So the winds not expected to completely leave our area until we get into late Friday. Now here's a look at that smoke advisory. And yesterday when we showed you this map, it covered the San Gabriel Valley, the downtown area, the Santa Monica Mountains. But now all that smoke, not just from the fires that are currently burning, but also unfortunately from all of the structures that are being burned as well. All of that is just being transmitted in the air. We have lots of these particles. We have a lot of combustibles and just very chemicals, materials that are lingering in the air. If you get that in your lungs, it's very, very hazardous. So today, stepping outside, if you have to be outside for an extended period of time, we know that there's no way around that some of our viewers have to work. Please take that mask with you. You're going to need it. I'm going to wrap up taking a look at the smoke advisory and just showing you how it covers the San Fernando Valley, the Santa Monica Mountains, all the way out towards the South Bay into Orange County. We're going to see that challenging air quality over into Irvine and even for portions of the Inland Empire. So we're not out of the woods yet, amigos. Just a reminder that we're going to have those winds pick up again late this afternoon into this evening and last into tomorrow morning. That's been a check of your forecast. Now we know that travel is being impacted big time. So here's Robin with an update.
Yes, thank you. And I want to remind people that a lot of areas are still dealing with power outages. So I passed a few businesses that were completely dark. The lights were out when I hopped off the 101 at Lancashire and went over to Cahuenga. There was just a whole row of businesses that were completely blacked out. The gas station, the traffic lights were flashing. So when you're driving in the early morning hours and the late night hours, you really want to be careful. And if you encounter an intersection where the lights are out or not working properly, please remember to treat it as a four-way stop, as if you had a stop sign on both sides of the street. You don't want to just roll through it. It can be quite dangerous. This is a new closure that we have in place because one of our newest fires here impacting the Acton-Agua Dulce area. You don't have access to Soledad Canyon Road from Crown Valley all the way over to Agua Dulce Road. This is not impacting the 5 or the 14, but for folks who travel along Soledad Canyon. So I just wanted to pass that along. For the Hearst fire and folks traveling through the Sylmar area, we have closures that are completely different from yesterday. So yesterday, it was an absolute mess because we had the 5 at the 210 closed. We had the 210 at Roxford. That area was blocked off. All of those closures have lifted. It's no longer an issue. It's only the truck routes that are blocked off this morning. So North 5, the 14, the West 210 truck routes traveling through the area will be closed until further notice. And once again, this is because of the Hearst fire. The traffic is moving well. Yesterday it was awful. Plus, we don't expect as many cars on the road, being that the schools are going to be closed today. I want to remind you that not only will we be covering the closures on surface streets and freeways, but we'll keep you impacted on mass transit because this wind event had a huge impact on buses and trains yesterday with down power lines, with so many delays and detours. This morning, it's bus line number 2 that's being detoured over to Santa Monica Boulevard. So please plan ahead from Beverly to La Brea. So this route will not be normal this morning. And once again, this is because of the wildfire that crews are still dealing with in the Hollywood Hills. They're diverting that traffic away from the area. I have more to talk about. We'll talk about Metrolink coming up in a little bit. Lynette, Adrian, back to you.
All right, it is 2 a.m. right now. Our continuous coverage of the Southern California wildfires continues this morning. I'm Lynette Romero.
And I'm Adrian Arambulo, and we've been bringing you more than 42 straight hours of live coverage since these fires started. And I want you to take a look at this map here. It shows you the major fires that have really stretched firefighters thin, resources thin, across Southern California, from the ocean to the high desert to the foothills. The biggest fires are the Palisades and Eaton fires.
The Palisades fire has grown to more than 17,000 acres. The fire destroyed more than 1,000 homes and businesses, places along Sunset Boulevard into the Palisades Village, grocery stores, gas stations. They're all gone. The beautiful coastal community is not even recognizable anymore, even for people who live there. It's a similar situation about 45 minutes away from the coast. That's the Eaton fire. It changed the beautiful community of Altadena, destroying hundreds of homes and businesses there. The winds pushed the flames, the embers. It has now burned more than 10,000 acres. 5 people in this area died. Schools have been impacted by the fires and the smoke. So the schools are closed, including every single school in the LA Unified School District. Firefighters and law enforcement officers, they will be holding a news conference this morning at 8 a.m. and we will be covering that and bringing you that live here on NBC4.
NBC4's Lauren Coronado is covering the Eden fire this morning live in Altadena. And Lauren, you were out there covering the Palisades fire yesterday. Today you're covering the Eden fire. Can you talk to us about similarities, differences? We're really curious about your perspective.
Lynette, Adrian, good morning. As you can see, we just landed here in Altadena, and the moment that we entered the neighborhood, we already saw dozens of homes flattened. Again, just another round of difficult images to take in. When you talk about a comparison, that's one thing right off the bat, is just the immense loss, these families who don't have homes to come back to. I will say, in the Pacific Palisades area in the neighborhood, I was in the Alphabet Streets neighborhood. Blocks and blocks of homes were gone there. That doesn't appear to be the case from what I'm seeing right now here in Altadena, but there is still a lot more to explore out here. I want to give you an idea of where we're at right now. We're on Boston Street and Lake, and there are a lot of businesses in the area that appear to have been lost. It's so dark out here right now, so it's hard to take it all in. I do want to mention that I am hearing what appears to be aircraft overhead, so that's good news. How vital that strategy is when it comes to the firefight. And I also want to mention that we're right next to Elliott Arts Magnet School. Again, tough to see out here because it's dark and because it's so smoky. So there's low visibility right now, but you might be able to see an orange glow. Again, that's at Elliott Arts Magnet on Lake Avenue. We drove by and we were able to see some firefighters on the ground. So they are making sure that they're doing what they can. We're trying to give you a better vantage point. Renee Luna, who is manning the camera right now, is trying to find that good spot. You see the orange glow right there. That is the top of the school, Elliott Arts Magnet, on fire right now. We saw at least one fire engine down there. We also have seen CHP officers in the area. We know LA County Sheriff's deputies are in the area as well. And as we just arrived, we're still taking in all of these images. So let's walk down Lake right now, because we understand that this is where a lot of the businesses burned. Right across the street, you're going to see other media crews as well, but you just see piles and piles of debris. This area obviously under an evacuation order, and there is not a lot of traffic, so we are safely crossing the street to show you another vantage point. This is actually our crew with Telemundo that we are walking past right now. But take a look at this. I quickly looked at maps right now as we arrived, and I understand this may have been a laundromat. It appears so. It looks like there might be some equipment there on the ground, and still a lot of hot spots, glass on the floor. You can see melted metal and just piles and piles of debris, those hot spots. I will say, when it comes to conditions, we heard Belen say that there appears to be a little bit of a lull, but like she said, winds are going to increase and pick up again. So we are waiting for that, of course. We are bracing for that. But right now, winds appear calm. This is certainly the calmest I've seen it since covering these series of fires. So that's the good news. Hopefully it gives firefighters the upper hand as they work to continue to try and stop this fire here in Altadena. I also want to mention, as you're taking in these images, oh my goodness, you're seeing all these burned out cars. I'm looking at this for the very first time this morning as well. We are right next to Alameda Street now. So now we've walked down on Lake and Alameda, and you're just seeing all of these cars burned. It's terrible, and there's still a lot of smoldering objects underneath this rubble. Renee, if you turn around, you're going to see more area now, and I don't know if you guys can see just how smoky it is out here, but it certainly is very low visibility and still a lot of areas burning. Of course, we're going to continue to monitor the situation out here, and we'll keep you guys posted as the morning continues. We'll keep you posted with anything new that's happening out here. I should mention, though, before I let you guys go, that those who are impacted by this fire here in Altadena, if you are impacted, if you are part of the evacuation, evacuation zone, whether it's a warning or an order. You should know that there is a do not drink order right now, and the city is actually saying that you shouldn't even try to treat the water. So don't attempt to boil it or do anything like that, because they just don't know how contaminated the water is right now. They're asking people to drink bottled water. So that's very important information that I do want to share with you guys. Of course, we're going to continue to gather out here. Not a lot of people in the area, but we did see some firefighters around the corner. We're going to talk with them about the firefight and the strategy today moving forward. Reporting live, I'm Lauren Coronado for Today in LA.
Lauren, I know as you were walking us through that, you were seeing all of this for the first time, as you said. Does it look like those cars were in a parking lot? Were they parked in front of what might have been that laundromat? Or does it look like they were abandoned as people tried to leave?
It looks like it's multiple businesses here. So it looks like there's a laundromat, and I'm going to pull up my maps right now because this is my first time looking at this, and I want to give you guys a good idea of what it is we have in front of us here. It's got to be, I mean, maybe even a car dealership, an auto shop of some sort, because there are just so many. They're not on the main street, so they don't appear as though they were trying to get anywhere, like they were leaving. It's called Brake Masters. So yeah, it's an auto shop of some sort. And if you look beyond this wall, actually past that auto shop, you're going to see another orange glow. So still active flames right now. And that's the situation. Right next door to this auto shop is Poppy Cleaners, so that makes sense. We saw a lot of laundromat equipment. There's a wellness center right here. What's so sad is that none of it is identifiable, right? We're walking past all of it and we're saying, what was this? And that's just devastating to know that these look like small businesses owned and operated by locals, and it's just really tough to see. And you know, this isn't the only situation. We know a lot of LA County is in this very similar situation. We just came from Pacific Palisades yesterday, and it was the same devastation. It was so many homes. We delivered the news to so many homeowners that their homes didn't make it. We had a lot of viewers reaching out. I know that was a similar situation here in Altadena with the reporters on the ground here. I think that's going to be a similar situation today where people are reaching out. We are, of course, are happy to give them any information we can. It's just so tough that unfortunately in most cases right now it's not good news that we're delivering. Lynette, Adrian.
And this, really gives you an idea of the scope of the damage, the breadth of it, because we've been showing the homes that have been destroyed, but then in hearing from NBC4's Tracy Leung, who grew up in Altadena, I mean, this is a busy street, you know, obviously for its commerce, all these different businesses, these are people's livelihoods, businesses that have been in their families for generations now just absolutely obliterated and gone. It really gives you an idea of how bad things are there. Lauren, yesterday we were talking about the winds and how they are so strong. Firefighters had to ground their aircraft. Have you heard any of the aircraft in the air? We know that in some other spots they are hearing aircraft, but we were curious about your location specifically.
Adrian, at the beginning of our report, I did hear what appeared to be an aircraft overhead. Couldn't see it, but I certainly heard it. And that's good news. We know how vital an air attack is when it comes to these fires, and they are desperate to stop the fire spread, especially right now when they have this opportunity where the winds have calmed ever so slightly. So I'm not hearing that aircraft again. Hopefully they're getting more water perhaps to make a water drop if that's what they're doing, but we hope to hear it again. We'll keep you guys posted. And I'm looking around, my eyes are darting right now because I'm seeing so many orange glows. The magnet school that we saw, there was a bright glow there, but then it kind of stopped. We know firefighters are on the ground over there, so it looks like they might be making some good progress at the Elliott Arts Magnet School over there. And then to my left, we're seeing that same hot spot that we had just showed you behind this auto shop. And that looks like it's picking up a little bit too. So there's still a lot to observe out here. There's still a lot to track as the fire continues to burn. We're seeing a fire engine make its way down our way as well. And there's still a lot of moving parts over here. The area's still definitely shut down to those who live in the area. And again, I just want to mention that do not drink water notice, because I know that was issued over the last couple hours. If you're just waking up, just tuning in, that's something to be aware of here in Altadena. Those impacted in the neighboring communities, do not drink water notice. Don't even treat the water is what the city is saying, just bottled water. Lynette, Adrian.
All right, Lauren, thank you for that. Well, NBC4's Lolita Lopez spoke with an Altadena woman who lost her home.
My husband, it's his childhood home, so he's going to be 50 years old. So it got passed down to us once his dad passed away, and we've been there 11 years, raised our kids there. It's just still shocked how it happened.
And this is what?
This is the front. This is the front of the house.
Yeah.
All our lawn is gone. Just our gate, and then the back of it's done. My son's coffee trailer, he just started. It's done.
Little business he had.
Little business.
Yeah. When you look at this, what do you feel?
It's gone.
Yeah.
That's all we got. I can't believe it. We tried to hose our house down before we left, but there's so much thing you could do.
Yeah.
Our kids' school is gone. Our park, Rosebud Academy, our park that we live across the street, Farnsworth Park, is a beautiful park. It's gone.
And did it just happen in minutes? Like, how was it?
Yeah, I was at work at 7 o'clock, and then a coworker's like, "You need to go to your house because Altadena is being evacuated." I'm like, "What?" So I called my daughter, and then she's crying. She's like, "There's flames." So I had to rush down there, and then we just got what we have. We have 2 German Shepherds. We went to the Pomona Humane Society. It took us like 3 hours to board them. I took my kids to my mom, and then came back with my husband because he didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
He didn't want to leave, and I had to like force him. We have to go.
When you left, what?
There's it was so sad going up there because it's literally gone. It's sad because it was a beautiful community. Everybody, it was just love to live there, you know.
Well, I won't belabor this anymore, and I really appreciate you, and it's an emotional moment, so I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to talk about it. And I'll keep in touch with you to see and make sure that things are progressing the same way. And you're just here trying to find resources?
Yeah, so my kids are with my mom, but we need to know what we need to do next. And they said they're in phase 1 until they get the okay, because it's still burning, that they could go to phase 2, and then they could give us more resources. So we're just sitting here waiting.
That would be like a place to stay, some hotel?
Vouchers, yeah, anything. I mean, they're giving us food, that's good, blanket, but it's still shocking. I'm hoping I just wake up and it's a dream, but it's not.
But you're with your family.
I'm with my family. My kids are safe. My dogs are safe. We're alive. Yeah. But it was our home.
Yeah.
Man.
Just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't get your head around it.
Appreciate her sharing her story. But that gives you an idea. I mean, these are neighborhoods just totally wiped out. The homes, the schools, the grocery stores, the restaurants, the dry cleaners, the mechanic shops.
Everything.
I mean, just everything is just gone. And you can see it's a struggle to try to even wrap your head around it at this point. You're not even close to being able to process this just yet. And again, we're in for more conditions today, fire conditions today and through tomorrow. So again, we're still in the midst of this danger.
Let's send it over to Belen de Leon to find out what we can expect.
Thankfully, the winds have diminished enough to where we're able to get aircrafts in the air to be able to do water drops. And this morning really is a great time for firefighters to try and get some containment on these fires. I want to show you the hour-by-hour forecast in the Pacific Palisades. Over the next few hours, look at how these winds really have improved compared to 24 hours ago. Yes, it's still a little breezy, but nothing compared to the 60-mile-per-hour gusts, 70-mile-per-hour gusts that helped fan and fuel that fire and made it grow. The winds, though, are going to really give us something to look out for as we head into this afternoon and evening. And just a check of the winds right now everywhere compared to yesterday, and we're doing much better. Now, we are still tracking high fire danger today, still seeing some strong winds, that dry air and those dry fuels in place. There's still a potential also for some wind damage, more downed trees, power outages, and travel continues to be affected. Strong crosswinds, debris on the road, so watch out for that. that if you have to get behind the wheel this morning. What do I have for you? Unfortunately, this red flag warning has been extended until tomorrow afternoon and into tomorrow morning. Now, the other thing is that we have a high wind watch and a high wind warning that has been issued. Now, this map, the last time I showed it to you, it looked very different. It only covered the LA, Ventura County mountains. As well with you right here on air that now we have a high wind warning that has been issued, reissued for the Inland Empire and over into Orange County. The reason for that, as I mentioned, we're going to get another burst in winds this afternoon, evening, potential of gusts up to 60 miles per hour. And this is once again going to cause some elevated fire danger. Now I want to focus in on a few of these areas and show you what's going to happen with the wind activity, show you more cities, and also just get a tighter focus as to what these winds are going to be doing. So here we are looking at the wind gust futurecast map, and it's showing you what's happening over the San Fernando Valley, the LA, Ventura County mountains, and most importantly, over the Palisades fire area. So this morning, still seeing a few breezy spots, but notice as we get through the middle of the day, we start to see the contour on this map change. We start to see more orange, more purple, even pink. Those are wind gusts ranging from 30 up to about 50 miles per hour. So that's a potential in a few areas in the Ventura County mountains throughout the middle of the day. Now, as we head into this evening, still seeing that activity. Here we are looking at the weather around 10 p.m. and still seeing those gusts that are ranging from the mountains all the way out towards the coastline, seeing some strong gusts out there in that direction as well. And then here we are tomorrow morning where there's strong winds. Just hold on. We're not really going to see some relief in this area until we head into tomorrow afternoon and evening. That's when the winds are expected to subside. Now I'll take you over to the Inland Empire where we could see the IE right here, the Santa Ana Mountains. Here you see Orange County. This morning we do have some breezy conditions, but also an area that's experiencing a lull and much calmer conditions this morning. That's going to change. Here we are looking at that wind tunnel developing around the middle of the day through the Inland Empire and over into Orange County. These winds coming straight out of the north through the Cajon Pass. If you are getting behind the wheel, watch out for those crosswinds traveling east to west or west to east, because those winds coming out of the north for any semis could tip you over. Those winds are going to blow over into the Santa Ana Mountains around the middle of the day, and they hold strong as we head into this evening. Here we are looking at the weather at 10 p.m. and notice those winds strong enough to reach the Orange County coastline. As we head into tomorrow morning, calmer conditions compared to what we're going to have this afternoon and evening. And then here we are tomorrow afternoon around 3 p.m. We're even going to see a shift in the wind direction until finally we're going to see those winds completely back off by tomorrow evening. So again, we still have that red flag warning in effect until tomorrow afternoon at 6 p.m. And now a high wind warning and high wind watch that has been reissued because of another burst of winds that we're expecting this afternoon and evening. And of course, we're watching the smoke that's being emitted from these fires and the poor air quality that it's causing. Oh, here's a look at one of our maps that we use to show you that smoke plume. The gray that you see right here on this map, that's all smoke. So we're going to take you into the future and show you what these winds are going to do to those fires and that smoke plume. It's going to make it grow, especially through the afternoon. Look at how thick that smoke is expected to become as we head into this afternoon around 3 p.m. Air quality will be affected dramatically, especially around the San Gabriel Valley, the Los Angeles area, all the way out towards the South Bay. We have a smoke advisory that's been issued that will affect the San Fernando Valley, all the way out towards the Santa Monica Mountains, and even cover the Inland Empire and over into Orange County. These smoky conditions are expected to stay in our forecast all the way through tomorrow. Even if you're not close to where those fires are currently burning, you're being affected by it because of the very poor air quality. A reminder that we have that high wind watch and high wind warning that has been reissued. So Robin, what that means is that once again, we're going to see those strong winds impact travel.
Yes, and that's going to impact the commute. It's going to impact closures, which have been extended. Some closures are changing, and it's also impacting our mass transit system, Belen, especially Metro and Metrolink. So I want to remind you, for those of you traveling on the Antelope Valley line for Metrolink, the tracks are closed from Lancaster over to Vista Canyon because of the fire activity. They are not offering bus shuttles, unfortunately, so you're just going to have to choose an alternate source of transportation, but they are offering refunds and vouchers So definitely consider that if you're hopping on Metrolink. And then because of the Sunset fire, we have some bus lines that are being detoured. It is bus line number 2. So they're going to force those buses over to Santa Monica Boulevard from Beverly Drive to La Brea. That means you need to plan ahead, pay close attention to all the announcements being made by mass transit officials, because your route will definitely change because of the fire activity. I want to reiterate some of the closures that we've been telling you about for PCH and also Topanga Canyon. Those closures are still in place, and this is an area you pretty much should avoid until further notice. So Malibu Canyon, a PCH closed from Malibu Canyon over to the 10. Topanga Canyon, yes, still closed. Mulholland to PCH. Malibu Canyon at Piuma is blocked off, and also West 10 at Lincoln. And once again, this is all related to the Palisades fire. This is not related to the fire, but I want to mention this because we have a situation here on the 405. A car and a big rig collided. The car flipped over several times. Several lanes are blocked. So now other commuters are driving in the wrong direction to get off the freeway because they're stuck in this backup of the rollover crash northbound 405 at Sunset. So delays are building. It's a chaotic situation here. I'll stay on top of this as well as all the closures related to the fires. We'll have more details coming up. Lynette, Adrian, back to you.
A lot of trouble on the road. All right. Thank you, Robin.
All right. Chris Cabezas with our sister station, Telemundo 52, is in Altadena right now covering the Eaton fire this morning. Chris, can you talk to us about what you're seeing, where you're at?
Hey, Adrian, Lynette. Well, I'm on Lake Avenue here in Altadena. You can see all this destruction. I'm going to show you a little bit of what I can see from up close. So there's metals, there's glass, a lot of glass. I'm going to be careful with that. There's blocks of some kind of wall that was here. They're all loose now. They completely came apart, and it's all black and dark because of the smoke. And there's also flames down here. Actually, you can see there's little pockets of flames here and there everywhere. You can see this everywhere, and this is not a current big fire. There's actually no firemen here currently battling these flames, but you can see this all around Altadena as you drive. So this was a block of Lake Avenue that was a commercial area. There was businesses here. It's hard to tell what they were before, but actually you could see there that was like a laundry machine, a washing machine. In fact, this was a dry cleaning service. I looked on the map, and this is what apparently what used to be here, and now it's all destroyed. Completely broken. I'm sure there's smoke still coming out. You can see, even though there's no fire here, there's smoke, and there's probably something burning in there because it's actually pretty warm still, or it was burning not long ago. But you can see it was actually this dry cleaning service, and then on this other side there's this gate. Apparently it used to be like an office of some sort for graphic design, and also like an academy, like a preschool down here, but it's hard to tell because it's also dark at this hour in the morning. You know, you can see the name there. I mean, the name of the business is still up in the front, Motion Lit, it says, but this was also a preschool academy is what I saw on the map, and it seems like it's completely gone. And you can also see like the little pockets of flames here and there. There's smoke everywhere. And yeah, we're going to show you on this sidewalk also this vehicle completely destroyed. You can't even tell what color it was. It's all gone. Probably was parked here. But now the car, it's just this is what's left of the fire. So far we know that it's not much contained, 0% contained as far as I'm concerned. It's the last information they gave here, but all these businesses are destroyed, and you can see as you're driving there's no lights, street lights working. It's all dark. You could see some light because of the little pockets of fire that is pretty much everywhere. They're everywhere, not only on these businesses that we're showing you, but also on houses like all around this neighborhood. So this is Lake Avenue, but there's businesses that are now gone. Was also this home. And look at this, all these vehicles here. It was like a oil service, mechanics business. Now it's all destroyed with the fire. and you can't even tell what kind of cars these were. Some are big, some are small. The walls are gone. That's right here. That's the structure. You can still see like some of the walls, but there's no roof. It's all gone. And these cars were probably in this business waiting to get some sort of, service done. And now these cars are gone. They're completely destroyed with the fire. And I'm going to try to show you what it looks like in front of the business, because it's actually a brake service and oil change right here, but it's all gone. And this is on Alameda Street and Lake Avenue in Altadena. And also, just moments ago, we could see the fire from the mountains, but right now, because of the smoke, you can no longer see it. But firefighters have been driving by. Look, that's the business right here. That's the one that's destroyed. Lifetime Brakes, as you can see right there, is pretty much gone. Lots of smoke everywhere. Flames still here and there. Firemen driving by. But there's just so many pockets of fires here everywhere in this neighborhood that they're probably at some other point right now where they see that it's like a growing or more dangerous. As far as the winds, it looks like they're calm right now, relatively, which is good news because it's not spreading the fire. But this windstorm is going to continue, so hopefully it's not going to pick up. But they are definitely calm right now. And you can see all this destruction, guys. We're live in Altadena. I'm Chris Cabezas. My connection just fell. Can't hear you guys, but
okay.
These are the images. We're live.
All right. Thank you, Chris. And I'm really glad he's wearing that mask because you've got cars that are smoldering, a laundromat that is smoldering. You just don't know. There are toxic fumes and toxic smoke in the air. So, there's still a lot of danger out there. So, I've been seeing on social media and people have been DMing me about wanting to go check on their homes and check on their jobs and see what things look like. It's just, we're still, as we said, we're still in the middle of it. It's just not safe to be there because you don't know when the winds are going to pick up, and you also just don't know what's in the air.
Yeah, it's affecting every aspect of life. The air you breathe, the water you drink. Lauren was talking to us about that. There's a water order there now where they only want you to drink bottled water. So it's like all the basic necessities of life all impacted.
Yeah, it's not just the fire.
Yeah. Pasadena Humane is now caring for over 300 animals evacuated from the Eden fire, from cats and dogs to birds. Pasadena Humane says the animals are suffering from severe burns and dehydration. Now, some of these pets were found alone outside of the scorched neighborhoods. Pasadena Humane is in need of donations to help provide emergency resources and care for some of these animals.
All right, it is now 2:30. You are watching Today in LA continuous coverage. We're going to give you some updates on things. The SoCal Edison outage map. This is what we're looking at right here. Current outages, we're told, in Los Angeles County, 39,448 customers. Orange County, 2,060 customers. Riverside County, 47,924 customers. Over 32,000 customers being impacted in San Bernardino. Ventura County, 50,561 customers. So even if you're not right in the middle of all the smoke and the flames, there are so many people who are without power and have been for days.
And the Palisades fire destroyed or damaged historic buildings at Will Rogers State Historic Park and Topanga State Park. Both were closed as a precaution shortly after the fire broke out Tuesday morning. State Park officials shared these photos of the historic ranch house at Will Rogers. You can see totally leveled there down to its foundation. They were able to evacuate horses, though, as well, and save some of the cultural artifacts. The Topanga Ranch Motel and all concessions was also destroyed. Officials have not been able to fully assess the damage just yet, but they say that at least 30 buildings have been lost.
And the iconic Getty Villa, which is located in the middle of the Pacific Palisades, we understand that it has escaped the Palisades fire mostly undamaged. The president and CEO of the J. Paul Getty Trust says the fire burned sections of the villa's landscaping. Got very, very close, but it did not reach the actual buildings. She credited the LAFD's extensive fire mitigation efforts throughout the year for saving the villa. The museum also features a state-of-the-art irrigation and air filtering system to try to protect the artwork. The Getty Villa will remain closed, though, until Sunday.
NBC4's Lauren Coronado is covering the Eaton fire this morning. She is in Altadena at a new location from where we saw her just about a half hour ago. Lauren, what are you seeing there?
Adrian, we're on Altadena Drive right now, just near Lake, in front of St. Mark's Episcopal Church, which has burned down. We'll show you those images in just a little bit, but I want to let you know what's happening right now on the ground. You're going to see SoCal gas crews working right behind me. They're hard at work. I briefly asked one of the crew members, what are you guys working on? They said they're doing some repairs. They're actually also trying to shut off gas to the homes you'll see just beyond this way, right across the street here on Altadena Drive. He tells me that those flames that you're seeing right now are being fueled by the gas right now, the gas lines that are still operating. So they're working to turn that off. Our producer, Stephanie Mataquin, tells us that her family, her cousin has been impacted by this as well, and they've been told that the gas company has been working nonstop to try to stop the line, to make sure that that doesn't continue to fuel the fires like you're seeing right now. Obviously a really dangerous situation. So that's what crews are doing on the ground right here on Altadena Drive and Lake. Now, to give you an idea, those homes that are burning, at least one of them that you see appears to be just completely destroyed. Across the street from there is going to be St. Mark's Episcopal Church, which is right here next to Home Park Avenue. Home Park Avenue, by the way, is a cul-de-sac when we opened up our maps. This may be an image you guys have already seen. We know that we had reporters out here covering this, and I just want to show you the aftermath, the devastation. It's terrible to see. You just see these brick pillars appear to be the only thing standing right now. And if we look beyond this, I mean, not only are we dealing with smoldering debris, but there appears to be active flames still here at the base of this church and beyond as well. So everywhere we go, as we continue to look around and explore the area, you're still seeing a lot of areas that are on fire. And right now, thankfully, winds are calm. But I also want to point your direction now the opposite way, Renee, our photographer, Renee Luna. It looks like there might be aircraft overhead. We had talked about that earlier because there is a hillside. You'll see that hillside on fire right now too. And it looks like there is some kind of aircraft above. It's a little higher up than what we would normally see, so not sure if it's related to the firefight, but we did hear a helicopter earlier, probably about half an hour ago. So it's good to know that there is aircraft overhead, at least when it came to about half an hour ago when we heard that helicopter or that aircraft hovering a little bit lower. We'll have to find out more information about that. But now that we've walked down Altadena Drive, we might be able to, oh yeah, that's gotta be aircraft fighting this fire. You're hearing it a little bit better now. It's a little bit lower now, so that's gotta be it. We'll have to find out how many aircraft they have overhead right now. They have a good window to take advantage of that for now. So it's good that they're doing that. We know how vital that is. As we walk down Altadena Drive, you'll get a better idea of the homes that are burning right here. This appears to be a cul-de-sac. You're seeing all the crews right here, multiple SoCal gas crews, I should say, excuse me. You see multiple crews out here doing their best to get the job done to stop the gas. And then of course you see what's left of this home here. It's always a difficult image when you see these chimneys are usually the only thing standing. The brick chimneys are the only thing standing. So tough to see more and more homes that are just destroyed. Such a destructive scene that we're looking at right now. Looks like we have heavy equipment moving some debris as well. Straight ahead, we're on Home Park Avenue and Altadena Drive, by the way. Lynette, Adrian, we'll send it back to you for in just a moment.
Lauren, so you were out there covering the Palisades fire yesterday at about the same time. Now you're covering the Eaton fire. Obviously the winds have died down, so the situation is very different. But what are you seeing as you compare the two fires in the neighborhoods there?
Yeah, it's an interesting comparison because wind obviously has changed significantly, and it's such a relief to see the wind so much calmer. I mean, yesterday it was windy. There was an intense windstorm. Yesterday there were embers flying, those embers flying miles down the way, and that was a scary situation because we know how dangerous those embers are. They just spark another fire down the way. It's a terrible domino effect. We're not seeing that today. We're not seeing any of the embers flying. That's the good news. We're not seeing the raging fire like we did yesterday. Yesterday, not only did you hear popping, explosions, you saw homes collapsing, you heard what I can only describe to be the sound of an ocean roaring. That's how bad the fire was in Pacific Palisades when we were here, when we were there this time yesterday. Today, it feels like we're seeing more smoldering. We're not seeing homes collapsing, certainly not to the degree that we were yesterday. So it feels as though things have calmed ever so slightly. That's where we're at right now, though, because we know the fire is still burning. We know thousands of homes are still threatened right now. We know thousands of people are evacuated. Still a very dynamic, moving situation. There are still a lot of moving parts, and we know, like Belen has said, just because there's a lull in wind right now, we are waiting for those winds to pick up again, and we know how dangerous it is and how difficult those conditions are because they're unpredictable. And when the wind pattern changes from one direction to the next, it really becomes an out-of-control situation for firefighters on the ground. And we know the firefighters have had no breaks. We've had a lot of resources pour in, but it's still just not enough. When I was in Pacific Palisades yesterday, there was a feeling of hopeless. You felt helpless because you would see a home burning and it was only a matter of minutes until the next home would catch fire. And there was just nothing you could do, not enough resources out, so it was really difficult despite people trying to save these homes. So I would say that is probably the big difference in terms of how quickly the fire was spreading this time yesterday on the ground in homes and neighborhoods. Right now, it seems like there's a little bit of a lull for now. Lynette, Adrian?
Right, and Lauren had mentioned that there was an order for people to just drink bottled water, folks affected by Eden Fire, and that gives you an idea. Again, we were talking